Everyone told us that moving abroad would bring us closer, and they were half right. You don't really realize how much being in a place defines your roles and actually kind of redefines your relationship. Hi, I'm Cliff.
And I'm Cheryl.
And this is Closer to Happy.
We recently relocated to Spain to find a more balanced life, and we are loving everything about it.
Even the things that we didn't expect to be challenging.
Yeah.
And we're going to share those in a minute.
Moving abroad strips away your shared autopilot. It forces you to meet each other again without your kind of typical coping mechanisms, your circles that you might have at home of friends,
Your habits.
your habits, right?
It really requires you to be, to kind of clear your head about everything and look at your partner as a completely new person because you're in a very new situation and your relationship does change. We went from being very autonomous back in California and in a big house in our own sections of it often. Sometimes I wouldn't see her for a whole day. and then you come here and we're in a much closer quarters and we're kind of, it's kind of us, not against the world, but it's us attacking and exploring and trying to absorb everything involved with being in a new place. And so we're kind of getting, in some ways, closer because we have to do this together. We have to figure out how to speak Spanish well enough. We have to figure out how to get a Spanish driver's license, which is really hard, by the way.
My God.
But we're in it together, you know what I mean? So it's not like I'm off doing that and she's off doing that. We're in it together. And I think it really is a nice way to sort of, reset your relationship. And everyone should know that if you're thinking of moving here and you're a couple that's been in the same place for decades, it's going to be different here.
I mean, there are definitely moments of friction. Trust me.
I didn't do nothing. Come on, shut up. What's the matter with you?
For example.
Never caused by me, by the way.
Never,
it's just
never.
situations.
It's always outside, extenuating circumstances. But there are a lot of things that come up and that we didn't expect, right? For example, one of us might be suddenly homesick and missing our friends, missing our kids, and the other one's all in and really enthusiastic about being here. And those flip-flop.
Right.
We have it sometimes at the same time, but mostly at different times. And
Right.
that can definitely create a little friction. So what are some other things?
Competence level, you go from being an expert at everything that you've spent decades kind of crafting in your life, and then you come here and you're a toddler, you're a beginner at everything. I go into a store and I'm really trying hard to speak Spanish all the time now, and I'm not very good at it. So I'm looking at what to say and then I say it not very well. Sometimes I get a good reaction, sometimes I get no reaction because they don't know what the heck I'm talking about. And so you feel like, you've regressed back to being a beginner. And in yoga, there is the beginner mind. Man, you really need that here.
You really need it, and you need to, I think, support each other with that.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you go from being totally competent adults to being really incompetent toddlers. And it's hard. And it's hard to see your partner that way too, honestly.
I think it's the diapers that really make it uncomfortable.
That's so weird.
It's uncomfortable living with someone who thinks like I do and says everything that just comes to my mind. So that's
so
a challenge.
Weird. It's such a challenge.
See, in our
it
house,
creates tremendous friction.
in our house back home, I could just say things in my own room and she would never hear them. So now it's a big realization happening.
Some of us are more competent at things.
Cheryl is better at speaking Spanish than me. Because you lived in Mexico, you've had a lot more experience, so I'm giving myself a break, even though I gotta tell you.
You should give yourself a break.
I know, but a lot of times when I see how much I struggle with it sometimes, I get mad at myself. And this is my stuff from, when I was a toddler. I wanna be better at it than I am. And when she's like rocking it, I feel even dumber. But the fact is, we have different timings of our competency levels. And that's going to become more and more and in different ways.
Well, they're like, for example, driving, right? I'm just kind of starting to drive. Here I'm so nervous about it. And I don't need to be. I've been driving for 150 years. So I'm sure that it's going to be okay, but I've only been doing really short drives. But I'm going to need to actually learn to drive. Otherwise, I'm going to be utterly dependent, and I don't like that feeling.
Also, we had multiple cars in the States. Here we have one car that we're sharing, right?
Yeah.
Because our lives have really shrunk. We're in a smaller apartment, and our lives are just being built right now, so we don't really know. We don't have like two crazy separate worlds that we need separate vehicles. When we do, we'll buy them, but we have one now, so we really do have to coordinate. And I kind of dominated the driving thing. I don't think that was on purpose, but
Well, you're better at it.
well,
You're much better at it.
What do you mean I'm better at it? Here?
You're more comfortable driving in Europe. You've
Right.
done it
I've
a
done
lot
it
more
a
than I
lot, yeah.
have. And you're just at home. You were, I drove all over the place, but when
Yeah.
we took any trips, for
Yeah.
a long, long time, you've been driving.
Yeah.
So that's definitely attention, not with each other, but attention for me, especially kind of within myself.
it's like what I said about language. That's how you feel about
Yeah,
driving.
exactly. I'm a little frustrated with myself.
Honestly, we don't have as many tensions as you would think we would have.
No, we don't really.
Because we kind of have similar tastes. Like when one of us it feels like going out to dinner and having a certain cuisine, we tend to be like, oh yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Or if we feel like going and working out at the gym, which is pretty much every day, but if we want to go use the spa here, we're both usually in sync. So I think that's really good. I can
Yeah.
imagine that if you're with somebody that doesn't tend to be, parallel with you on things, it would become amplified being here because you're in such tight quarters, It's like going on vacation with somebody who wants to accomplish 1,000 things and go and do and do and do and do, and someone else on vacation who wants to just chill because they're working all the time and they want to relax. That's a really common way that couples tend to be out of sync. And that would be amplified here.
Yeah, I think the other thing we have in our favor is we worked together for 25 years.
Right.
So we were together all day. We understand each other's kind of coping mechanisms and styles. And so I think it's made it easier for us, but it's still an adjustment.
Yeah, that's true.
So living abroad really magnifies your differences for sure, but it also makes you a team in ways that a normal life really never could.
That's true. You're like on an adventure together, and it really does bond you. That's one thing that happens on vacation is that people tend to be really in a great mood and they're doing a lot of fun things together that they both agree on, and therefore vacations have this really energizing and cohesive feeling to them with your family and with your partner. And we're not approaching this like vacation, but it has some of the benefits of a vacation because we're both learning a new place together.
Yeah,
I think that's good.
Every single thing we do as partners is an adventure, right? Just going to the grocery store.
That is an adventure.
It is.
It is.
Trying to figure out what things are called, where they might be, if they even exist here. Just simple things like that. Every single day we come up against something that is either slightly or extremely challenging that we have to, as a couple, navigate and work through. And it does bring you a lot closer in that way.
So we're navigating things as a team, but we're also redefining the roles that we play. And when we first got here, for instance, at home, Cheryl would oftentimes handle things like, going to the restaurant. She would call them and make reservations or whatever.
Travel.
All
travel.
She's an amazing, so this is her problem. She's so good at planning travel that I just let her all the time. And when we came here, there's a lot of traveling happening here, and there's going to be more. And at some point, she sat down and said, you know what? I know I've always done this, but I really need you to take some of this on. And even though it's not my forte, she said, can you do that? And it absolutely was like a light bulb going on. I said, of course I can do that. I traveled for many years before I even met you. And so, yes, and we've been doing that more, and I've been taking more of that on as being proactive, and that's something that I wasn't doing. I was just kind of letting things be what they were at home. And that can become attention.
Yeah, no, I think it's been good. And you've actually done a pretty good job.
Thank you.
Not as good as me, but ultimately, I think what's going to happen is our shared wonder is going to replace the shared struggle. And I think that that happens now. I think it happens already. We still have so many moments of just, on a daily basis, frankly, of looking out and saying, I can't believe we live here.
Yeah, and I'm really happy we're here. Like we say that a lot.
We do. And there's so much to be amazed by and dazzled by and happy about. So yes, there's a lot of struggle that happens for sure on a day-to-day basis, but I think slowly but surely the wonder is going to override that. Maybe it already has. I think it already has.
I think it has to a large extent, but we all have habits, and we all have habits to do things the way we've done things. I have to watch myself, because what Cheryl just described is really a gratitude practice. And, this is easy to have gratitude here. But the fact is, I tend to, and this comes from my past as a producer and, director, I look for things that are wrong. And I'm very good at finding them, And so I have to retrain my brain. And that's something I'm in the middle of. But this is a great place to do it. But I am aware of that. And if you're aware of it, that's, at least a third of the battle.
Yeah, it's the first step.
Yeah.
Being here really sort of makes you fall in love again, not just with each other, but not that we were out of love.
No.
But
not that I know of. That would have been a good note to send.
But with the person you see navigating the world in a completely different way.
Right.
And I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. Like, she looks at me learning Spanish and she's like, "Oh, you're such a little knucklehead." But
it's adorable.
It is endearing to see how the other person problem solves. And I think it kind of reintroduces you to a lot of the things about the person that you initially were attracted to, because it's sort of starting over again.
There's something about being foreigners together that changes your definition of love. And it's not about escaping. It's not about reinventing. It's just really about seeing each other in process.
Living abroad exposes who you both are when no one's watching. And, going through that together is really where the connection happens. And if you found this therapy session helpful, please like the video and subscribe. And we'll see you soon.
Ciao.
Ciao.